One of the more interesting things to be coming out of all of the new information we've been getting on the Final Fantasy VII Remake lately has to do with the strange, mysterious black mist that's swirling around Cloud and Aerith during the latest trailers. Now, some have been speculating as to what this could be. Perhaps it's something to do with the Sephiroth clones, perhaps it's to do with the ghosts that occupy the train graveyard, and some have even argued that maybe it has to do with the live stream, though the colour is completely off. Well, thanks to a new interview that's coming out with Tetsuya Nomura, we can now know that all of those guesses are indeed wrong. Let's check this out, shall we? Just as we get started, I want to give a shout out to everybody who continues to support me on Patreon or as a YouTube member. So that support really does help the channel to grow, folks. It means so much to me and it's very much appreciated. Thank you so much. Now, just as a warning, folks, even if you're a veteran of Final Fantasy VII, this video is going to have potential spoilers you may want to avoid regarding the remake. Okay, so this black mist, this black smoke, what actually could it be? Well, Nomura had some interesting things to tell us, but here's the first thing I want you to understand. All of the guesses that we've been coming up with are wrong because Nomura has confirmed this substance, whatever it is a new plot element to the remake. So it's not something they've drawn out of the original game. As to what it is, it's known as the Watchmen of Fate. Now, that is translated from Japanese, and this source is coming from Jamatsu. I'll leave a link to the original article in the video description. But Nomura is calling these mysterious entities the Watchmen of Fate, and the description for them that's coming out of Nomura is that they are mysterious beings that appear before the party wherever they go. And then he just clarifies, I hope that even those who have played the original game will enjoy these new elements. So these are a new part of Final Fantasy VII. They're new to the remake. So even if you played the original game, there are going to be surprises in store that you are not yet familiar with. And I, for one, am actually quite excited about that, though I understand, I'm guessing some of you are going to be a little bit miffed that they are changing things up in this way. So these things are the Watchmen of Fate. Now, we don't have a huge description as to what to go on with these new entities, these new beings that we're not yet familiar with, other than the fact that for some reason, they seem to have taken a keen interest in Cloud and his party. Nomura tells us that they appear before the party, they follow the party throughout the adventure. But now we get to the fun job of actually theorising what these Watchmen of Fate could actually be. Now, and I think personally, this is my own initial understanding, my own initial thoughts, that the clue is in the name. So we could, of course, be assuming that they're either mysterious beings that have their own motives, their own goals, whatever that could be, or we could assume that they are working or operating under another, such as perhaps Shinra or Sephiroth, though I don't think it's going to be Shinra. That just doesn't seem to match up with what we know about Shinra, that they would have these mysterious ghostly beings working with them. It could be something to do with Sephiroth, but again, it's a new plot element, so I don't think it has to do with the Sephiroth clones or anything like that. Plus, the Sephiroth clones are physical beings at the end of the day, physical bodies. It could be something to do with Genova, that perhaps they're working with Genova, but Genova crashed to the planet by itself, as far as we know, 2,000 years ago. And, you know, it didn't bring any of the beings with it, so we still wouldn't explain who they are. But here's my theory. This is what I'm thinking. I believe that the Watchmen of Fate are actually sent by the planet itself. Okay? Hear me out. We know that the planet, Gaia, as it's known, is a living entity in the lore of Final Fantasy VII. We already know that it has its own consciousness, its own mind. For example, in the original Final Fantasy VII, it actually creates and launches the weapons, those giant creatures that Cloud has to fight. And it does so in order to destroy life on the planet, in order to restore a balance and protect itself. Now, the Watchmen of Fate, just think about that name. What if these are working for the planet, perhaps the planet created them in some way, to actually go out and scout all the strange goings on in order to figure out where the threats to the planet are actually coming from? In that context, it would make perfect sense for the Watchmen of Fate to be surveying Cloud and his party members. They are, of course, about to have a huge influence in terms of where the planet's going to go and what direction life on the planet is going to have. Now, here's the interesting thing. If that is going to be the case, There could both be antagonists and protagonists throughout the adventure. Antagonists when at times they see Cloud and his party members as a threat, and so perhaps they'll report back to the planet. Maybe they even have power of their own to attack, I'm not sure, but they'll report to the planet that, you know, Cloud and whatnot are problems that need to be dealt with, and we could have encounters that lead on from that. But then also, once the planet discovers through these Watchmen of Fate that Cloud and his party members are actually going to be valuable in bringing down the ultimate threat, which is Sephiroth himself, perhaps they'll actually team up and group up with our party members in order to help achieve that aim. I'm actually getting quite excited thinking about this. It's a really interesting idea that they could go with. And right now, based on the title and what we know about it being a new plot element, I think that this is possibly the most logical answer as to what these guys could be. So what we know for sure is that they're a new plot element. They're called the Watchmen of Fate, and they follow Cloud and his party members around throughout the game. From that information, I believe, my working theory at the moment, is that they are actually to do with the planet itself. Not with Sephiroth, not with Shinra, not with Genova, but from the planet. But I'll be very interested in hearing your thoughts on this new plot point, guys. So please do share in the comments below what you think the Watchmen of Fate are all about and where you think Square could take them going into the game. So thanks for checking out the video. If you want to see more and learn more on the Final Fantasy VII Remake going forward, please make sure you are subscribed to my channel and hit that beautiful shiny bell notification as well. And I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.
This sounds like you're having fun.